Hey, in fantasy football, you can call it a lot of different things. You can call it sleepers. You can call it underrated players. You can call it some dudes you really don't care about in April. It doesn't really matter. There are a few names out there, though, that may not be sexy, but could have huge value for you during your fantasy football draft. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back. Next episode, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Today we're talking about underrated players, sleepers, whatever it is you want to call them. There's all different kinds of terms for them in fantasy football. But today we're going to be breaking down a couple names who really aren't that sexy. You may not really enjoy these names. You may see them on the side of your screen right now, and they make you want to gag, but don't quite yet. A few of these guys could have some serious value in the mid to late rounds of your fantasy football draft, and even though they don't look sexy, they could help carry you throughout the season. We're going to get into this list here in just one second. Before I do, though, make sure you head over to our website after the video, TheFantasyHeadliners.com. Our draft guide is now available for pre-order. Tons of information, tons of content at a very cheap and reasonable price of $19.99. Go check it out after this video. But for now, let's talk about a few underrated players. All right, let's kick it off with the quarterback position. First one we got up here is Josh Allen, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Bills Mafia, where you at? It's April, the beginning of April, and I'm talking about Bills players, and I'm not making fun of them. This is actually a good thing. I like Josh Allen this year, and he started to come on pretty strong at the end of 2018. In fact, he ended the season with 5 straight games over 200 passing yards, and in 4 of those games, he rushed for more than 95 yards there towards the end of the season. He's definitely somebody who is not I don't want to label him as a mobile running quarterback, but he has that in his repertoire. He's able to do that. I don't think they're going to be drawing that up a lot this year, but it's something that he has that he can take over at any point of the game and make things happen with his feet. And now he actually gets a few more weapons this year. He's got a case of the Beasles now with Cole Beasley. John Brown is there. He already had Zay Jones, and he still has the tax man Bob Foster. We know he can throw it a country mile, and Bob Foster and John Brown can run a country mile, so that should work out great as far as the deep ball goes. And now they've also brought in Frank Gore to kind of help stabilize that running game, whether Shady can stay healthy or not. The 1-2 punch of both Gore and Shady should really give them a solid run game. And if that's the case, if they can run the ball efficiently and effectively in Buffalo, that could open up all kinds of possibilities for Josh Allen. Also, there's still that chance in the NFL draft that's coming up that they add another pass-catching weapon. This offense could take a huge turn for the better in 2019. The biggest problem, really, though, is last year they didn't throw a whole lot. They only averaged 33 pass attempts a game, which was 28th in the league. Does that improve this year with these added weapons? I think it does. And with Josh Allen having that ability to scramble in his back pocket, he's currently at an ADP of 124, 12th, 13th round, end of drafts. If you're in a Superflex 2-quarterback league, obviously somebody you're going to be targeting. But right now is QB 18 with a high upside. If you want to punt quarterback altogether and kind of wing it with somebody, Josh Allen has crazy high upside. And I know it's crazy to think about because he plays for the Bills. But the dude was one of the top-rated fantasy quarterbacks at the end of 2018, and I expect him to pick up where he left off. Great value and highly, highly underrated at this point for your fantasy football team. All right, for the running back position, we got Rashad Penny, Seattle Seahawks. Somebody who really didn't get much of an opportunity in 2018, right? But he could see one here in 2019, something we need to pay attention to. Last season, he was dealing with a 3-headed monster there in Seattle. He had Mike Davis, Chris Carson, Rashad Penny. He only ended up with 85 carries, 419 yards, 2 touchdowns. However, did average 4.9 yards per carry, which would have been among some of the league leaders had he gotten more carries. Didn't really get that opportunity, but it's possible he gets it this year. Why? Mike Davis, no longer in town. You have Chris Carson, Rashad Penny. Now, I don't expect Rashad Penny just to walk in here and be the RB1 for the Seattle Seahawks. Chris Carson will be involved. He hasn't done anything to really lose his job or lose work. The good thing about this situation is Seattle really likes to run the football. They ran it a lot, like a buttload last year, and it really surprised us. I mean, the preseason didn't really look like a team that was going to try to, dominate running the football. The offensive line didn't look strong enough. Well, they were second in the NFL with run plays called per game with 33. And they also rushed for 2,560 yards as a team last year. That is a huge amount of volume. You split that between Carson and Penny, there's more than enough for them to go around. And if anything were to happen to Chris Carson, Rashad Penny absolutely becomes, high-end RB2, fringe RB1 with the amount of volume he could possibly see. Right now, ADP is at 74, so 6th, 7th, 8th round, depending on your league size. He's currently RB31 with an opportunity to get into the high teens this year. If given the right opportunity, he could be a huge steal on draft day. Definitely somebody I'm paying attention to here in the offseason. Wide receiver, we have Golden Tate, and I know. Don't shut the video off because I said Golden Tate's name. There's a lot of hate out there for Golden Tate, but there really shouldn't be, especially this season because he's going to be at a great price for you on draft day. And I get it. He had a down year in 2018, moving from Detroit to Philadelphia. Only ended the season 74 receptions, 795 yards, and 4 touchdowns combined. Not that impressive. I get it. But he never really totally meshed into the game plan of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now he's moved on to the New York Football Giants, where there's a huge opportunity for him. Why? Yep, Odell Beckham is no longer in town. That leaves behind approximately-ish 150 targets a season or so. And now I get it. A lot of that's going to, start going towards Sterling Shepard. It may go towards Evan Ingram. But they brought in Golden Tate because they needed another weapon on the outside, and he fits this offense perfectly. He doesn't have to go, 15, 20, 25 yards down the field. He can eat in the middle and the low to intermediate routes. And as far as fantasy football goes, as far as PPR leagues goes, that could be absolute gold. The 4 years prior to last season while he was in Detroit, he averaged just over 90 receptions a year and 1,000 yards a year. This is definitely a guy that can eat in PPR leagues, and now he may get the opportunity to see somewhere around 125 targets-ish. Do that in an offense that's going to have to be throwing the ball a lot. He could be a great value for you. Now, his current ADP, 94th overall, so 9th, 10th round-ish. Right now, wide receiver 38. We're talking about a guy who was a solid wide receiver 2 for years. Now you're getting him at a very discounted price, very low risk on draft day, and he has the upside if he's given the opportunity. I know Golden Tate's name is not sexy. I know a lot of you may have been burned in the past by Golden Tate, but I'm not, counting him out here in 2019 at a value like this. It could be something that you just don't want to pass up. Just a quick little tidbit of a stat I found here, just to try to throw this out here. The New York Giants had the same amount of pass attempts as the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to throw it in New York. Why not throw it to Golden Tate? Moving to tight end here, we got Delanie Walker of the Tennessee Titans. And I get it. A few of you out there probably just heard me say that name and looked over at your friend and were like, he still plays? Yeah, he does, and he is getting old, but this has been one of the most consistent, solid tight ends in fantasy football over the past few years. He did miss majority of 2018 with a season-ending injury, but prior to that, the 4 years prior to that, he'd average right around 100 targets, 60 receptions, and 800 yards. I get it. He's getting a little bit older, but he has the chemistry with the quarterback. He has the upside at a very thin position. The tight end position is really hit or miss after you get past those first 3 or 4 names at the top. Why not wait on a Delanie Walker, somebody who can be a solid tight end 1 that you can get in an ADP in the 9th to 10th round? Right now, he's currently tight end 9. I do expect that to maybe fall a little bit the closer we get to the season. I think the age is really going to start scaring people away. He looks healthy. He's ready to go. He's excited to get back on the field, and he's got very low risk. If you wait on tight end and you're looking for somebody with consistent upside, Delanie Walker is going to be a decent pick for you here in the mid to late rounds. Just don't forget about him on draft day. Remember, tight end, it's a pretty thin position out there, and at this position, at this point of the draft, at the tight end position, you're really on a wing and a prayer anyway, because any one of these guys could be a top 5 option or fall all the way down into the 20s. You just don't know for sure. All right, like I said at the beginning, these are a few guys who you could call them sleepers, underrated players, whatever it is you want to call them. Yes, it's April, and there's probably a lot of you guys who really don't care about these guys yet. But don't forget about these names. Pay attention to them here in the offseason, and maybe come fantasy football draft season, look to where these values are at. They could be great values for you. You're investing very little draft capital, and they could really pay off, huge dividends for you come your fantasy football season. But I want to know who you think out there, maybe one of these underrated players. I could have listed 25 players on here, and this show could have gone for like 2.5 hours. But A, I don't have any water around me to drink for 2.5 hours, and you probably don't have 2.5 hours worth of your time to sit there and listen to me. So hey, put them down below in the comment section. I'd love to interact with you. We are one of the most interactive channels here on YouTube, and we would love to converse with you back and forth with some players who you feel may be underrated heading into the 2019 season. Like I mentioned earlier, head over to our website, TheFantasyHeadliners.com. The draft kit is available for pre-order right now. $19.99 gets you one of the most extensive draft kits in the industry. Have a lot of experts on board to really help you guys dominate your fantasy football leagues this year. Looking forward to it. Hopefully you have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you later.